So good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I've had in my mind all week Thanksgiving. Everybody have to eat well. And I was thinking about Thanksgiving and the Thanksgiving in Thanksgiving. I know that's a double, but it's kind of fascinating. And I've been reading a new book I'm going to share with you, and it really, really, really looks at Thanksgiving. But it's from a little bit different. And I picked up a daily word in the middle of this week to look at it. You know, what are we going to come on Sunday? Some candy to me sometimes, what is in the daily word and what I'm going to talk about. But what I'm going to talk about is Monday's daily word. So I'd like to read it to you if I may. Okay? And it says, I appreciate all that I am. And I want you to think about that affirmation. I appreciate all that I am. I'm going to look at that. To recognize with gratitude is to honor someone or something. I am appreciating myself and those around me. So we're going to be talking about appreciating yourself and the gift that you are to the universe, and that the power you have within you that we have a tendency to deny or forget about. So we're going there. It says, my true nature, my I am, the Christ within me, is born of the divine. So truth, we are affirming, we are of the divine. So everybody stop and think about that. What would you really do if you felt you were of the divine? And how would you act your life out? What would you put into the divinity we call the temple of the body? Okay? Fascinating to me what I have done over the years. I've tried to preserve it with a lot of alcohol in our early lives and all those other things. And it's fascinating what we do when we don't feel good about ourselves. Then it goes on and says, I am stronger than I believe. Take it in. I am stronger than I believe. Okay? And then it goes on and says, living from my spiritual essence, that individual that I am at the Christ self, I enjoy more peace, power, and appreciation than I could ever imagine. So it's beyond your imagination what's available for us. Then it goes on, I cherish my relationships and carefully nurture them. Every relationship I have is a blessing. It's amazing to me the relationships that I see occurring here, and I love them. I appreciate them. I appreciate all of you. And we have to cultivate relationships. Everybody there? See, if I don't reach out and you don't reach out, then we don't connect. Then it goes on and says, I have a full, rich life with divine beings that I respect and admire. So look around you and look at all the divine beings in this room. And out there too. Because it's limitless. We are all created in the image and after likeness. Then it goes on and said, my experience in life can also be gratifying even during painful times. Anybody agree some painful times have taught us many things? And sometimes those lessons which are the most important thing for me to move forward in life.
That's been true for me.
It is. It really is.
I've had another one.
And it's the overcome. It's not the solving a problem. It's the overcoming and moving. Yeah. Okay. And then it goes on. Each one is an opportunity to learn and grow along my spiritual journey. Practicing gratitude opens the way to greater happiness. And the last phrase is, I appreciate all that I am. So we're going to look at that. It was very interesting for me, because I've been reading this new book by Greg Braden, and it talks about this. It's really kind of fascinating. And I need to get my notes out. And the whole idea behind this new book is, who are we? Where do we come from? And he's a scientist, so he backs up his ideas with science. And what he is saying is that a lot of science today hasn't caught up with science, if you understand what I'm saying. In other words, there was the scientific ideas that were created years ago, and new science has said, well, maybe it's not true. But they haven't updated the science by the science. And I found it really kind of fascinating. So the first step we're going to talk about is, who are we? And what are we here to do? Why are we here? Which are the great questions of life. So in going on, we are, guess what? Homo sapiens. That's a Latin name that we have been given. What's interesting, and I'm going to share this with you from his book, and these are just ideas. Science has found They think that Homo sapiens, that's us, identical us, appeared on the planet 200,000 years ago. Okay, just appeared. They don't know how, they don't know where, they don't know from whence we came. What's also interesting is science has been kind of waffling a little bit because the idea of evolution has been based on we started as, a single cell, and we did this, and we came through Neanderthal, Cro-Magnon, we evolved through these different states of being. And it was based upon the fossils and the skulls they found. Has anybody ever heard about the missing link? Mm-hmm. They still haven't figured out where that is. And so far, there's no scientific evidence that that whole progression is true. Is it a good theory? Yeah. And is it supported by scientists' beliefs? Yes. Is it supported scientifically factual? No. That's science. That's a fact. So now it's like, oh my goodness, we've spent since 1859 when what's his face put the whole theory of evolution together. They've been looking for this connection. Still haven't found it. What's his face? So what's going on? And what is the popular science agreeing to based on science? And it's fascinating to me. Then another thing happened. It's very, very interesting. And I didn't know this. Neanderthal. Supposedly we were morphed, evolved from Neanderthal man. But you know what? They found a Neanderthal baby several years ago in a frozen state so they could extract the DNA. And they found the DNA of a Neanderthal. And it is not in us as human beings. Something's wrong. Yes? Now, there's about...
again? It's not what?
It's not in our DNA. Now, there's about 1% of the population of some areas of the world where there's Neanderthal genes. Wow. So there was some interaction between the species. However, the evolution is not there. And they have not proven it scientifically yet. As a matter of fact, the new DNA stuff coming out is saying, we don't have Neanderthal genes, we have Homo sapien genes. There's another thing, and I don't quite understand it, but apes, we supposedly have the same genetic makeup as monkeys and apes. However, and I think it's the strands or whatever they are, but 26, most monkeys have 26 strands. We have 24. Oh, wow. And at some point in history, they don't know when, but we as human beings fused that DNA into one and made us human. And it occurred all at once, as far as they can tell. Now, folks, this is not, we don't have any proof. But what we're looking at is the possibility that there's some ideas. So, the question is, are we the outcome of a huge, unbelievable, random experiment of matter and energy running around, or are we an organized system that was put here to accomplish something? Good question. Mathematicians say it's mathematically impossible to have that many permutations that occurred. Because there's 20 different proteins in our blood just to clot blood. Okay? How many trillions of cells do we have in our body? And science is now, and the scientists that are willing to admit it and look at it are saying, we don't know. Because there's too many circumstances that haven't been proven yet. And the DNA, this new stuff in the last 10, 20, 30 years, is starting to bring question into the whole thing. Now, do they have a definitive answer? Everybody there? So what I'm sharing with you is some of the newer science. It's also some of the newer questions that have been created in our world. So I'd like to believe we are not the random effect of a breed of monkeys. Okay? And so stop and think about that. If your life belief is that we're here on a random thing, I'm an accident, I'm here just to live and go, what kind of life do I have? Would I value human life? So if you stop and think about the attitudes in our culture today, human life is taken rather matter of fact. And it's eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we die. Which I've heard. Anybody agree? Mm-hmm. So why do I abuse my body? Why do I take in alcohol and drugs to feel better when I am a child of God and I have the access here to feel better and to heal myself? One of the issues that human beings have is, number one, is compassion. In other words, the ability to appreciate and feel for somebody else. It's called empathy. Another thing we have is the ability to love, to make a difference. Now, compassion and love sound the same, but love is a more unconditional kind of thing. Another third thing human beings have that other entities do not have is intuition. And intuition, as far as we know, is a connection with spirit and the energies that are in the unity running the universe. So where did that come from? And why do we have it, and what are we to do with it? These are big questions. And the more I've looked at it, and by the way, this book just came out as far as I know. And in it, I'd like to, I haven't decided plan to do this, but I'd like to read you a little bit of it. Remember, this is Braden saying it, so Robert is repeating him. Okay? So what he says is, and I'm going to read from his synopsis here. Let me go here. The potential shift from merely identifying and condemning atrocities stem from a lack of self-worth. So what we're talking about is the lack of self-worth if we really believe we're an offspring breed of monkeys. Okay? So what do we believe? Do we believe we are divinely created? Okay, which appears then, okay, whatever, how did it occur? They don't know. They really don't know. But again, back, they know that Homo sapiens showed up just the way we are today. Now, did we evolve a little bit? Yeah, we got better. We probably got prettier, whatever we did. But the idea behind it is we have existed on this planet as a separate species for 200,000 years. Okay? Now, I've been so ingrained in the evolutionary process that it was difficult for me to read this, and I'm being open with it. But all of a sudden, it made sense. It made sense. In a culture where we embraced life's specialness, people wouldn't criticize, hurt, kill one another or themselves with the ease and frequency that we see today. So if we really believed each one of us is a child of God, special, set aside for a process of life to share here, would we treat life more special? Sure. Mm-hmm. Number one, starting with ourselves and being thankful for who we are. So it's a fascinating idea to me. Okay? My brain is not. So. They got all moved around. This idea of thankfulness, the daily word scripture for Monday, tomorrow, is First Thessalonians 5:18. This is kind of like a key to success. Everybody ready? Mm-hmm. Verse 16 says, rejoice evermore. So that means be happy, be joyful, and be happy about life. Don't allow anybody to steal your thunder or take your life away from you. Number two, pray without ceasing. Pray without ceasing is connection to God. Knowing God is everywhere present, and I'm okay, and you're okay, and we're all part of this culture together. Then it goes and says, verse 18, in everything give thanks. So, who do we give thanks for? What do we give thanks for? Well, we just went through Thanksgiving, and frankly, I sat down to write my article on Wednesday afternoon, and the thankfulness kept coming to me because as a group, you're such a blessing. Do you understand what this church has been through and what you folks have been through? And here you are. And we're going to build a church down there. We are growing. We are becoming more than we expected. We're here. You know, how many places can you go without moving every Sunday to a new place? We've been here stable. Looks like we'll be here for a while. But it's week after week after week, people step forward and do things. So that's really thanks. But I want to take that to another level. I want to ask questions, and I have an interesting item to ask a question with. Anybody familiar with this?
Mm-hmm.
It's a $2 bill.
$2.
So what's it worth?
$2.
Maybe.
Well, 20
Okay.
cents.
Okay. What's its value?
Whatever we decided.
Say it again.
Whatever we decided.
You see, this could be about, when you print them in high levels like this, it could be worth about a penny or two. Really, the actual value of it. Now, how come it's worth $2? Who said so?
Face value.
Say again?
Face value.
Okay, who set face value?
Government.
Government did. Who in government said it? See, we take everything for granted and we don't understand what's behind things. Really, literally. It's a $2. Now, I'm using $2 bills at pattern interrupt. If I put a dollar bill or a $100 bill here, you go, whoa, okay. $2 bill is different. Madeline's been carrying this for how many years? I don't know, I asked to borrow it. And the idea behind this is, we place a value on this because we believe it's worth $2. And whose belief is it? And where did it come from? And who put the cotton picking belief there? Even when this was minted, or let's say this one was printed in 1960. So it's not worth $2, it's worth about 75 cents. Why? Because they keep printing more of these things. When they need money, they print more than we need and put more into circulation. Basic economic fact. So who sets the value? Do you understand that we accept things in our life just because somebody else has said so? And that's the point. So, what I'm sharing with you is, who are you? And if we really believe we're a child of God, a divinity expressing itself, how would we treat ourselves? How would we act in the world, and who would we interact with? Would you hang around anybody that diminished you or dissed you, what they say? No. Because there's no need to. But who decides the value? And this is, you talk about, I'm not going to say a scam, but anyway, it's like, all you need to do is print more of these and you got more out there. And unfortunately, you have more in your pocket, but each one of them is worth less, slowly over time. Now, I got another thing to share with you. Now, that's government. I got a coin. Oh, yeah, I'm going to find it. There it is. This is an ounce of silver. Okay? Anybody know what it's worth?
Current market.
How much?
Current market value.
Oh, interesting. Current market value on Friday was $17.11. About a year ago, it was worth $30.10. Now, who made that decision?
Marketplace.
The marketplace, which is a group of people outside of us making decisions for us. Okay? Now, truth is, this increased in value while that went down in value. That's one of the big arguments of gold and silver folks. But the idea behind it is understand everywhere around us, we are working with other people's beliefs. Why do we drive on the right-hand side of the road?
Because you can get it.
Because we were told to, because it's part of the system. When I learned to drive, you don't even think about it. You stay on the right-hand side of the road. Why? Why do we do most of the things we do? It's because somebody said, here's how you do it. Now, nothing wrong with that. We need to be able to function in the material world. But are we in the material world or are we in the spiritual world? And that's the question. So, all I want to do is get through the idea that we have accepted everybody else's standards for us. Okay? And are we really living out what your next door neighbor or your family or your spouse decides is good enough for you? Madeline and I used to go to a workshop, and one of the most powerful films, it was on film, we had to run a projector, and the speaker said, I have to compete with your neighbors and friends who control your mind. Okay? And your neighbors and friends, unfortunately, are so busy telling us how much better they are than us. And my religion, when I grew up, told me I'm a worm, I'm a sinner, I'm going to hell, and da-da-da-da-da-da. So what does that do to my self-worth and others that heard those words? So where are we? Where are we going? Who are we? And divinity is here. Divinity is here. I've heard people say that you have to be careful where you stand because you stand on it, it's holy ground. And that's rather radical. But the more I think about it, the more I look at it, and the more I need my notes. I do forget what I'm doing up here.
You stuck them in the Bible.
Stuck them in the Bible? Thank you. That's a good place for them to be. Maybe they're getting purified.
There we go.
Yeah. See, it says, in all things be thankful. And I really believe that means literally all things, because everything that happens for a reason. So, we are Homo sapiens. Your mind creates everything in your world, and you are master of your fate, captain of your soul. And that's from Invictus, which is a famous poem by William Henley. And what I have written down here is appreciate yourself, value yourself. You are divine. Your presence is sacred. Now, what gifts do you have? How can you place a value? Somebody has helped you. What is the value of eyesight? What is the value of eyesight? What is it? Huh?
Heck of a lot.
$2.
Do you see?
Fair market value.
See, we take things for granted until we don't have them. Okay, and do we value them? No. What is the value of hearing? Of being able to hear a baby's laugh. Of being able to hear a famous symphony. Being able to hear a loved one say, I love you. What is that? And what is the value in that? What is the value of touch? And the touch that occurs in intimacy in those things. There's value to that, but how do you measure it? And the value is, in my opinion, a spiritual value, because it's the ability to create relationships with other human beings. Smell. Anybody realize how strong smell is? Most of the time, when we experience something, we experience the smell first, and then see or hear or feel the rest of it. So all these things are valuable, and we are valuable as a human being. Anybody understand they're spending billions of dollars right now on artificial intelligence trying to recreate who you are, mechanic? Have they gotten there? They still don't have one that can make decisions at that intuitive level. Can they play chess? Yeah, you've all heard of all that stuff. But they still have not recreated the basic human issues of compassion, love, appreciation, and all those characteristics of the human being that we are when we are centered in God. So the main reason I'm bringing this in, we're talking about prosperity, we're talking about relationships, we're talking about health. And the first step is to realize who you are. Would you agree that if I really got, and I'm saying myself, that I'm a child of God, expressing God in all things, that I'm still dealing with a cancer on the nose? In other words, the possibility of healing is there and has long been there. So it's just overcoming my beliefs that it ain't there. And I remember I use ain't on purpose. So where are we falling down, and where can we be thankful and forgive ourselves? Joe Vitale, for those of you that are into Ho'oponopono, in his latest workshop, the Ho'oponopono idea is to repeat, I love you, I'm sorry for these things I've created, please forgive me and get rid of them, thank you, but then he's added a fifth one, I forgive myself. Because who creates my life? I do. So the main issue is what would we really create if we honestly believe we're divinity? So everybody take a deep breath and deep within you and say, I am divinity, and I know. Go ahead. And I accept it, and I am love. See, to me this is a serious issue, and I'm looking at it. The book stirred me up, I have to admit that, it really did. Because when I started realizing that part of my belief structure is we are a breed of monkeys that just happen to be here, and we're here for a while and we leave. Nah, There's evidently a much bigger story to that. I don't know what the story is, I'm just saying it's there. Each of us is special in that process, and as a group, it's really big. So I love you and I appreciate you. Prosperity is ours, because we are, if I really get this, we are connected to the unlimited resources of the universe. And we have everything available to us, and all we have to do is ask for it, and it shows up. Anybody ever realize that? Some of you know how to get parking spots, okay? And there's much more. So I appreciate you, and I know we are going to the heights together, and I love you dearly. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next.